Hey, everybody, we're here for the All Things Blues and Southern Rock Facebook group with another one of our quick hitters. I got Jason with me, and we got a guest here. We got David Hudson from the State of Amorica podcast. How are you guys doing?
Buddy, how are you doing? Don't point at me. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm great.
You're our guest. You're our friend. You're our good friend. We like to talk to you.
I was trying to show some Southern chivalry. So,
well, listen, we have to show that because we're the hosting. You're the guest. So, after you, sir.
I'm good, man. It's good to be back.
Yeah, no kidding. It's good to talk to Brian. Brian's been on vacation. I haven't spoken to you, buddy. We've chatted a little bit online, but that's about it.
Well, before we get rolling about this, our little news segments here, just giving a little shout out. I got my Babylon Shakes hat on. Boone's Mojo Box. We saw a video early of brother Steve Jewell, who has said he's going to give me some bass lessons.
Oh, nice.
He was playing the Boone's Mojo Box, made from Jeff Bolin out of Kentucky. Jeff Bolin Analog Pedals. So all you guitar players, check them out. Check out Babylon Shakes. They got a new single coming out here real soon. So
that's a good band. David, are you familiar with the Babylon Shakes?
I've heard of them. Yeah, I'm not too familiar, but yeah, I've definitely heard the name.
Check out some of their stuff. Brian, how would you describe them? They get a little bit of like 70s Aerosmith, a little bit of early Black Crowes, I'd almost say.
They're getting more that way. The first record was kind of more, it kind of sounded more like kind of right out of Los Angeles in the mid 80s. But now they've taken on more of a, I don't know, just getting more southernish, getting more, getting more little roots in there. So, but
what did you say? Roots?
Little rootsy there.
Is that North Dakotan accent?
I guess. I mean, I don't think I speak with a Norwegian accent.
No.
Hopefully, I don't know. I don't. You know.
How do you pronounce that? Do you say roots?
Roots.
All right.
I had a professor in pharmacy school that said it the same way Brian did, and we would find a way in conversation in the class to try to bring it up and say it, in front of her.
Well, so hey, how I caught that.
No kidding. She's from South Dakota.
Well, see, so I have some membership to Guitar Zoom, which is like Steve Stein as a guitar instructor. He's played with much. He's from South Dakota. Brian, you probably have heard of him, and that's what he says, like the root note, and that's what you said, and that's where mine.
Just didn't have a conscious thought about how I was saying that. But speaking of accents, one of our future guests is from the band 10 Ton Mojo out of New York City. But I talked to Paul Kane, the drummer, friend of ours here on the page, and he's got a heavy New York accent. As I got a kick out of that.
That ought to be fun. Talk to him. And then real fast before we get to why we're here, Boone's Mojo Box. You already said it. You're wearing the shirt. That was our first. That was our first quick hitter. First quick hitter. This is our second one. So we'll get right into it. Today we released our new episode of the podcast featuring Nick Reese from Joyous Wolf. And just this week they announced that they're going on tour with, opening for Dirty Honey, two young LA bands. Working hard, opening up for amazing people. I know that Dirty Honey has opened up for The Who. You got Joyous Wolf has opened up for Deep Purple and for Slash. And I know Dirty Honey also opened up for Slash. And it kind of seems like those guys are on the same kind of line trajectory as Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown, who opened up for AC/DC and Guns N' Roses. So you got Nick loves those guys.
These young guys who got this whatever kind of business model they're doing. They're it's almost like they're getting like an MTV kind of success without MTV. So I just wonder what you guys' take on that is. We'll talk about this whole tour coming up.
Huddy, I'll let you go first, man.
I'm the first band, Joyous Wolf. I've never heard of them. Dirty Honey. What was the big song they had on that EP? When I'm Gone, or when I heard that, I really liked it. I've kind of followed them from a distance a little bit. And the reason being is I got hooked in on Greta Van Fleet when their EP came out and really liked them, and then realized it's all Led Zeppelin. And like they just keep doubling down on it and kind of got burned on that. And so I've been kind of cautious with Dirty Honey because they do have kind of a retro sound to them. But I've actually pulled up their album. Was it California Dreaming's one of the songs? And I like what I've heard on it. I need to listen to them more.
Yeah,
but I think they're far enough along now to realize it's not going to be completely derivative like Greta Van Fleet was, because they just, I don't know. You guys may like them and everything, but man, they just keep doubling down on the Zeppelin stuff.
They do, and like I'll talk to the Greta Van Fleet. Like I dug their music first because same with you, man. It's like, hey, Led Zeppelin. I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan. I think they're hooked somewhere right now. And also, their dress is a little off-putting too. So that's a professional move right there, Hudson. I just caught that. That's a pro move. Yeah, and I want to see them do their own thing. That's what I'm hoping. They're talented dudes. Clearly, the guy can sing. I want to see them do their own thing. Now, Dirty Honey, same vein. This new album, really good. It is kind of their own thing. Yeah, they do have elements of some Zeppelin or Aerosmith or whatever, but they're kind of their own band, and they do their own thing with homage to a little bit of the stuff that came before them, and it's good. I would check out their new album.
They definitely have listened to our favorite band.
They have listened to the Black Crowes for sure. We spoke about the Babylon Shakes a little bit at the beginning of this, and the Crowes for sure have an influence on them, and I also dig that.
I think the Babylon Shakes and Dirty Honey, I think they both kind of harken back to that, maybe more late 80s sound, not so much early 80s. And I should say Babylon Shakes. It's not the Babylon Shakes. I'll take that the out of there. But yeah, I think those guys both, they just kind of like, they seem like they walked out of like 1989, but then you see the growth so quickly. So that's nice to see.
What's funny too, Brian? So we released our podcast today with Nick, and I was listening to it today because I just wanted to go back and hear those musical impersonations that he did. He's just a funny guy, and David, check it out. Like he's a character. He spoke about knowing the guys from Dirty Honey and is friends with them, and all of a sudden now, a couple of weeks later, they have an announcement that they're touring together.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Both those bands being from LA and being young like that. I mean, they're just, I don't know if it's an LA thing, but they're going to go out there and show what they got to everybody.
Yep. And as we stay on the Black Crowes real fast, since we have our esteemed colleague who has the #1 Black Crowes podcast in the entire world. It's fantastic, guys. Check them out if you haven't already. I'm sure you're probably listening, but today is an anniversary of an album for the Black Crowes. David, who is it? What is it?
It's Lions.
Much like Vice of Lions album. What's your thoughts on Lions?
I really like it. And I've always said there's 4 songs, you take them off and you have I think you have a completely different album. And maybe 1 or 2 songs you could put in there and you have a completely different album. I think it's kind of cool in the Black Crow circles to hate on that and By Your Side. And, to each his own. But I mean, yeah, Mark Ford was gone and there's no replacing him, but that's a heavy guitar album. And what Mark Ford did when he came back to the band with those songs was made them even better with like Soul Singing, Lay It All on Me, Greasy Grass River, stuff like that. But that was the first album that Ian and I reviewed on our podcast because we actually both really like it. And so we kind of did it to stir up some controversy, if I'm being honest. But to me, if you take Come On, Lickin', Ozone Mama, and what's the other one? Young Man, Crazy, Old
Young
Man,
Old Man.
Young Man, Old Man. You take those off, and I think you have a much better album. Those 4 songs, I think, are horrific. And the problem with Licking is if the lyrics were different, that would be a great album. But if you read those lyrics to me, I go, was this on the first Poison album? And then Come On is just such a generic, hey, let's get all upbeat, rah-rah type song. But to me, there's some underappreciated gems in there, like No Use Lying and Losing My Mind. Yeah. Losing My Mind, I mean, you got a co-vocal from Rich, and No Use Lying, musically, I think is very impressive. A lot of starts and stops. I imagine that was tough for Gorman, to do the drumming on that. And then you've got Lay It All on Me, which is a great song, fantastic outro. Midnight from the Inside Out is one of my favorite opening songs of that.
I love it. And you got to ask about that lick at the beginning too, was that intentional restart or not? I love that.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. Because it sounds like a lot of songs that I try to start in my band and have to repeat.
Oh, you're talking about Midnight from the Inside Out. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You said Lickin'.
Yeah, Lickin'. I'm sorry, Midnight from the Inside Out. Yeah.
That's I love that song, and I did not see the Crows until 2001. And so that's the first song I ever heard from them live.
Wow. Well, you're going to make our friend Girl from a Pawn Shop, a.k.a. Kate, mad, because I think she just did today on Twitter her top listing of those songs of that album. I think Cosmic Friend was number 1. So hopefully she's not listening or watching today.
I think the intro to Cosmic Friend is a little silly.
Yeah.
I don't mind this musically. I think it's great. That was Chris starting to go in that direction, which is fine. But yeah, I think if people, I'll be honest with you. Here's what I found. For years, people on the message boards, it was cool to hate on that and By Your Side. And you start getting sucked in and thinking that's everybody. When in reality, it's actually a small portion of the fan base. And I've learned that because on State of Amorica, as you know, we try to be positive and not be negative. Mm-hmm. We've just had so many people come out and say, I really appreciate that, including a drummer that we've both interviewed. And so I'm starting to realize that that's just a very, very small segment of the fan base. And so I know it's cool amongst those people, and that's fine. They're fans. I love them, want them to listen to the podcast, and love that the Black Crowes are their favorite band. We just have a difference of opinion on that.
Yep. So Brian, what do you think about the Lions album?
Well, the best part of track 11. Sorry.
Lay it all on me.
No, Cosmic Friend. Sorry.
Oh, Cosmic Friend. Sorry.
A brain fart there. But the best part is at the end, he's like, "Hey, Ed, thanks for the sharing. No problem." I love Cypress Tree and Greasy Grass River, even though I think Cypress Tree has something in common with no Come On. And well, yeah, no, Speak No Slave, and everybody was saying that Come On, the riff is like Paint an 8 sped up. But no,
I've not noticed.
Now I've got to go back and listen to that. Thanks, Brian.
No kidding. I will say for me, though, I like the album. That's the album that I think Jimmy Page potentially could have played with them on, or at least Rich was clearly influenced with a lot of the heavy and kind of different guitar riffs. But Soul Singing, favorite song on that album. It's one of my top 10 Crow songs of all time. I love that song. It makes me happy 100% of the time when I hear it.
When we talked to Steve, he had said that, like Oddly hardly played on that. So it kind of sounds like both By Your Side and Lions a lot of Rich. And I know it does not say in the liner notes, I think that Lenny Kravitz's guitar player, Craig Ross, played part of the solo on Greasy Grass River.
Yeah, he's definitely on there. But I mean, Rich is one of the all-time great riff writers. And Absolutely. He's one of the all-time great alternative tune guitar players. And I mean, the Black Crowes have this image of being a jam band. I never have thought of them as a jam band. They're a band that jams maybe 1 or 2 a night. That's it. They're not like Widespread Panic, which Widespread Panic is one of my favorite bands. I'm not putting them down. But, man, they stretch every song out. Mm-hmm. And so at its essence, I think Rich is just a really, really loud guitar player. And I think he was able, after Three Snakes and Amorica, which I'm sure he loved recording, he was able to put together a Rich guitar album. And that's exactly what Lions is. I think the problem that most people have with it are the lyrics. I mean, but there's some...
Especially on Lickin', which is really juvenile.
Yeah. I mean, Midnight from the Inside Out, you listen to those lyrics, that's a lot of drug, music. And then Losing My Mind, I think, is one of the most straightforward songs they've ever written. Soul Singing, I mean, that's a great way to have a big, fun, anthemic, uplifting song and it not be cheesy.
Yeah.
And in Miracle to Me, I think it's one of their best ballads. There's so many little intricate layers on that song. And the melody of it that Chris sings, Tell Me Why Have You Been Crying? The way he sings it, it's just awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just gotten to be a thing that you rag on.
And I like that song too because it's about Kate Hudson, and I used to have a massive crush on her.
So, guess who my ultimate guest I want on State of Amorica is?
Kate Hudson?
It is. Okay. It is. And the reason I wanted, she was on Conan O'Brien's podcast recently. We're still just talking about how much she loved the Black Crowes. And nice. So to me, she would be the ultimate. That's my, like, if people go, who's the ultimate person you want to know? Is it Chris or Rich? I'd love to have Chris and Rich on. It's Kate Hudson.
She became her character on Almost Famous.
Yeah. When she's she's a huge music fan, and like,
well, she's married or a couple different guys, right?
Yeah, and like on that podcast, I forget how it came up. What about and she's like, "Have you listened to Three Snakes? Like, I need to get you to listen to Three Snakes." So yeah, I would love to have her on and just kind of pick her brain about all that. Plus, Almost Famous is like a top 10, maybe top 5 movie for me.
Oh, for me, for sure. It's just the perfect era of music and the style. And Cameron Crowe still had his fastball. Like, it's infinitely rewatchable. And if you've ever bought the bootleg edition, like the director's cut, it makes that movie even better. Like, it's unbelievable. I mean, that movie's already awesome. It just pushes it to another level.
I agree.
So, like when Ford came back to the Crows and pushed them to another level.
So we want to move into our other big news for both the State of Amorica podcast and for the All Things Blues and Southern Rock podcast. We are both going to be attending the podcast expo, the Rockinpod Expo in Nashville early August, and I am psyched. I'm pumped. I'm just been that's all I'm thinking about. It's going to be awesome. I know, David, you've gone before.
I've been to every one of them.
Have you really?
Yeah, it started 4 years ago, and I had just started Digital Kill the Radio Star.
Great podcast.
Thank you. 3 or 4 months earlier, and so I didn't get a table or anything. I went solely to try to just get some, I don't know, pointers and things like that, and got to be really good friends with several of the podcasts. And from year 2 and year 3, we had a table there, and this year I'm not taking Digital Killed. I'm taking State of Amorica, and just really looking forward to it. It is a really good time. It's just music lovers hanging out, and the way it's organized and the way it's set up is really cool and really conducive to getting some good interviews, interacting with people that listen to your podcast, introducing your podcast to other people, and then it's just a fun hang, Friday and Saturday and Sunday.
So, as it says, like in the description, were you able to, or any podcast, were you able to? Do you go live there? Are you able to cut an episode? What can you tell us about that?
All right, so here's the setup. It'll be in I think it's at the Hilton. It's at the Hilton Airport hotel, and it'll be a really big ballroom. And what they'll do is you'll have an assigned place for your table, and all the podcasts are lined up in several rows back to back to one another. Then they'll have a stage, and on the stage they'll do panels. There may be 1 or 2, like for instance, the second year, you guys are familiar with who Michael Wagner is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. He's been every year. I don't think he's coming this year, but he's been every year. So they did a panel with him and Ron Keel about the first Keel album. Stuff like that. Like last year they had David Ellison was there.
Nice.
I forgot who else was on a panel about the music business. And so while all the podcasts have their stuff set up, you have this stage, and you have the panel, and you have it's different topics, and that's being broadcast a lot over the speaker system. They'll have 20, 30 chairs there. You can go and listen. There'll be another room where they'll teach a podcasting class about how to start your podcast, how to build it, equipment, marketing, and all that stuff. And then intermittently, they'll have bands playing acoustically, like Roxy Blue, who my buddy Todd Poole is the lead singer and the main writer for them. They're going to do an acoustic set.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Then the back hat. Y'all need to have Todd on, by the way.
That's what you're saying.
I can totally set it up.
Okay.
Like he messaged me every Thanksgiving and Christmas mornings, one of the first people. So we've just become friends. Wow. Yeah. He's a great guy. So anyway, at the back, there's going to be vendors, vinyl vendors, memorabilia vendors. There'll be a bunch of those. There'll be like a cosplay contest. People can come dressed up.
Brian, I expect you to win that.
And the coolest thing is, so the package that you and I both got, which is sold out, by the way. So if you're listening on a podcast, that one's sold out, but other packages are available. You'll have early access to parts of the podcast, parts of the expo. You'll have a table. I don't know what you guys plan on doing. Ian and I are going to have a banner.
Okay.
at the front of the table.
Is that what you recommend? Get like a banner made with our logo?
Yeah. Mine's two. Ours, the one that I have is 2x4. And I think we're gonna have some koozies there, some stickers. You just have all that laid out. And then, people ask you about your podcast, you can tell them. But the package that we both have, you will have the ability to at least try to sign up for interviews. And so my advice is don't sign up for a ton, because the first year we did it, we signed up and we got like 10 interviews.
Okay.
We spent the whole day interviewing people. And the way it's usually organized, the podcast you say, if there's 10 people to possibly interview, you sign up for the ones you want to interview. They try their best to get you at least one of the heavy hitters that's there. And then the other people, and the guest will be given a list of who they're going to interview with. And it's really funny. The first year we did it, I had to go to the bathroom and we were getting ready for an interview. And I'm coming out of the bathroom, and Troy Lucetta of Tesla is talking to the organizer. He goes, "Where is David Hudson? I've got to find David Hudson." And I was like, "Hey, you're right here." And he's like, "We got an interview." Troy Lucetta couldn't have been nicer. Gave me his personal cell phone number. Super nice.
Oh yeah, I listened to the Digital Killed podcast you did.
And so anyway, so people will come around. Like we had Jack Gibson from Exodus. Nice. We've had Toby Wright, who produced those Alice in Chains albums, and a bunch of other stuff from the 90s. Trying to think. I interviewed David Ellison, which was kind of a pinch me moment.
Love Megadeth.
I got a cool picture with him. And then a lot of those people that are guests are going to have like autograph panels. Last year, some people charged for them. Some years people don't, but like this year, the guest list is Billy Sheehan.
Yep. Mr. Big and some other bands. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, everybody knows who he is. Matt Pinfield, that's the one I'm the most excited about, is going to be there. Ricky Rockman's going to be there. Mark Goodman, one of the original
VJs.
VJs.
Tommy
Skio, his band Resistant Bikes play in the pre-party, which is a separate event. You have to get a separate ticket for that, but that's in downtown Nashville. Like I said, Mark Goodman, Ron Keel, if you're into Keel.
I was more into his country stuff than his metal stuff. No, just kidding. I like
he calls himself the Metal Cowboy. He's going to be there, and I privately messaged you guys who the next two to be announced. That hasn't, but the organizer told me not to say anything. But needless to say, they're very big in the drumming world. They're going to be there. There's going to be more. A lot of times there's some last minute people added because it is Nashville, and there's a lot of people in town. Well, if somebody has a weekend off or they're not touring or whatever, they'll come. And sometimes you'll just look up and people show up. Like, are you guys familiar with who Kenny Ellison is from Kid Rock? Guitar player for Kid Rock.
I thought you meant the producer.
Yeah. He's just showing up, walking around and sitting and talking to him for like.
What is Nashville, right? A lot of those guys live there.
Yeah. So, and then if you're not a podcaster, you get a ticket. You get to walk around. You get to hear all these cool panels. You get to talk to these podcasters. And this year they've completely sold out of all of that. So like the first year it was like 10 or 12. And then the year that I started having a table, it was probably 15 or 20. The third year it was 24. And I believe this year, just on the platinum thing, they've sold out at like 35.
That's crazy.
And when it first started, it was honestly, most of the podcasts were Kiss related. Now, don't shoot me, but I do not like Kiss.
And you're going to hurt Brian's feelings.
I'm just not into them. But those are music fans, and music fans can always find something in common. The second year you started seeing, like, there was a Bruce Springsteen podcast. There was a Monkees podcast. There's a Cheap Trick podcast.
Wait a minute. There's a Monkees podcast.
Yeah.
It's still going on. I'm going to have to find that.
Yeah. So Ken Mills, the guy that does it's actually a friend of mine.
Cool.
Anyway, and now this year, he said there's going to be several streaming radio stations that are going to be there. And there's more podcasts. So it's becoming more and more diverse, which I really like. Because, I mean, I honestly don't listen to a lot of, like, glam metal or whatever hardly anymore. Just my taste have changed. But, it's no telling who you'll see walking around. Like, what was really one of the really coolest moments ever was last year. It was over with. It wasn't at the Hilton. Maybe it was at the Marriott last time. So we're at the bar having a drink, me and my podcast partner, and we're sitting at the bar. And I turn around and I look back at him. I just nod to the back. And I said, is this a pinch me moment? And he's like, I think it is. We're just having a drink. The two people standing behind us are David Ellison and Michael Sweet. And they're just talking. Well, then Michael Sweet comes over to talk to us. He remembers us interviewing him a couple of months ago at Graceland. And I looked at him and I said, we've kind of arrived. Like Dave Ellison and Michael Sweet are standing behind us, and it's just another day. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I encourage, there's a lot of people, several people flying in for the State of Amorica to come and hang out with us. I'm getting in Thursday night just so I can get there and relax a little bit. Friday, I go somewhere downtown or whatever and walk around on Friday, and then Friday night's the pre-party, and we plan on setting up a private podcast after it's all over with. I'm sure you guys will be around for that. And just bring your equipment. I will tell you this. Don't bring a microphone that's very sensitive and that you can't make it directional because it is loud in there.
Yeah.
Bring it, but bring whatever you've got. But I just ordered the Zoom podcast PodTrack 4. It's about that big, and it's got 4 XLR connections. It's got a built-in mixer for all your mics and everything. You just hit a button and record. So I'm going to try that this year, but it's a lot of fun. And so if you're on the fence and you're within driving distance of Nashville and you just like rock music, show up. It's a little something for everybody there.
That's a pretty good review.
I got to take on all this, I'm going to be getting there Thursday as well. I did check and see is that the Ryman does give tours, and I really want to check that place out.
It's great, man. I've done a tour there before, and if we could hook that up, I would do it again. It was really cool. They used to have a Black Cross display on there, a signed drum head, and some other things on the second floor. I'm curious to know if they still have it.
Yeah. Ron Keel, he's originally from Nashville. He'd be cool to talk to. And, and of all the guests, it's funny, earlier we were talking about Almost Famous, of course, that being about Cameron Crowe, but the queen of the groupies, I believe, Pamela DeBars, is that how you pronounce her name?
Yeah.
She's going to be there. It's good. Kind of funny, but
she'd be interesting to speak to. I mean, she's got stories upon stories.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, it sounds like we're going to have a couple decisions to make. One, we're going to have to figure out who we want to talk to from this list, because I got us hooked up with the pass or whatever we need to have for our table and all that. Shoot me a high def photo of our logo, and I'll take care of like stickers and
okay. Sure.
Also the sign up usually goes out about 2 weeks out once they have it finalized who's going to be there and what times that the artist agrees to be there. That would be my advice, is don't make a rookie mistake and try to sign up for everybody.
Too many. Just pick the ones. Yeah.
Pick whoever like your top 2 are. Definitely pick them. And then sometimes, honestly, if somebody hasn't had a lot of people sign up for them, they'll send out a thing. Hey, can somebody please, and honestly, some of those have been some of the more rewarding interviews. And you usually get 10 minutes with them. So, you can't get really in depth, but
right.
If you get a chance to have Billy Sheehan on, you get a chance to have Billy Sheehan on.
Right.
So that's the way I look at it.
Will they let you get a guest that's not on the list?
If they just show up, because it's nobody regulating who you interview at your table. If you just see somebody, like a fan, hey, you want to come do a quick, there's nothing regulating that.
Well, I won't reveal it here, but I just was chatting with Jason earlier. I've spoken to, I think, who's a well-known individual in the music community in Nashville.
That our buddy Steve Gorman mentioned on our podcast with him. And we have a lot of Nashville friends that we met. Tyler Bryant. Who else? Like JD Simo. There's plenty of people that live in Nashville that we've had on the podcast. So it'd be great to get them to get on there.
Andrew Davis, we're talking about you.
I think he moved back to Mississippi though.
I heard somebody's working in a studio in Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia. That's right. When I saw him a couple of weeks ago at their show in Columbus, we were talking about that. He moved back to Georgia. Yep.
Right on. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap this up. Our quick hitter went a little bit longer, but that's okay. I know, David, you got a podcast to cut here. So thanks, guys, for, helping me out with this, of course, always. And, You guys have a wonderful day, and hope all the listeners.
Hey, real quick, tell everybody I'll tell them, go to Nashville Rock with an podexpo.com to get all the information and get your ticket.
Oh, there you go. Marketing.
All right. You guys heard it. This is another quick hitter for the All Things Blues and Southern Rock Facebook group.